Show on Shindig, trying to get up now on YouTube and Facebook as well. We're getting ready to break down the AFC Championship between the New England Patriots and the Jacksonville Jaguars. My name's Alex Barth. We are joined by Mike Alongi. He's in the background pushing the buttons. Mike Petralia will join us as well in a little bit. Looking forward to that. Here, Mike, as we get started, I see we are up on YouTube. We are up on Facebook, so that's excellent. But if you guys want, if you have any questions for us, we'll still take our questions in the chat, but we're doing this week. If you have any questions or comments you want to ask us directly, you want to talk with us, join us on the Shindig link Mike's posting in the chat. That will bring you over to this page. You can jump up on the podium where it says join podium, and you can join us from there. So, again, getting ready, Patriots, Jaguars, just the beginning of our coverage today on CLNS. Follow us on Twitter at PatriotsCLNS. Be back at halftime, and then Mike and Marv will have you post-game on the CLNS YouTube page. All right, Mike, let's start with this. A little different opponent, Tennessee. This team feels a little more legit, but it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. I feel like that name is kind of dropping people a little bit. How are your nerves?
Well, I mean, what are you going to, you can be nervous because this is a great defensive team. This Jaguars defense, we watched them last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They looked fantastic. They looked great. I have a lot of confidence in this Patriots offense just because of their game plan specific nature. They are one of those teams that can just decide we're going to attack this way. We're going to attack with the running game. We're going to attack with the tight end. And then right there, they're all over the place with you. So I'm not too worried. The biggest worry, I guess, has to be Brady's finger, right? I mean, his thumb is messed up, and I guess we'll see what happens within the first few minutes of this game what Brady's dealing with here.
Yeah, and of course, I mean that's what it's been all week here in New England. He's going to play, right? He's been out warming up. We know that. To be honest, I don't think this is necessarily a big throw the ball game for the Patriots. I think this is a game similar, and it's a completely different defense and for completely different reasons. But remember the beginning of the 2000s when they faced the Colts? I think there was like a 2 or 3 year stretch where they faced the Colts every year in the playoffs, and you knew LeGarrette Blount was good for about 30, 35 carries. I think it's going to be a similar game plan. I think they're going to run the ball a lot, use James Devlin, keep the Jaguars in their base defense, and then pass the ball when they need to, pass the ball later in the game when they get the Jaguars sucked in. So, and I thought that going into the hand injury. I think this is really, as good as Dion Lewis and James White have been in the playoffs, this has the potential to be their best game yet in my mind. Because the Jaguars' strengths on defense, their speed is really speed and agility. They're not the biggest defense, and they're young, they're inexperienced. So they're going to come out fired up, ready to stop Tom Brady. I think the Patriots can catch him off guard by running the ball early. And I got frustrated last week with how much they're running the ball at the beginning of the game. I'm okay if they come out and they run, for the first 7, for the first 8 plays this week.
I totally agree. I mean, me and Trags were talking about it on the Patriots roundtable the other day. I think that this part of the reason why Brady injured his thumb the other day was because they were doing so many handoff plays in practice. I agree. I think that they're gonna attack this because Belichick did say this is a bigger defensive line. Malik Jackson's a big guy. Calais Campbell is a good run stopper. Those guys. Marcel Darius, is also a big run blocker. So they have the guys, but they still haven't, statistically over the course of the season have not been a great run defending team. So I agree. I think that's the way they'll attack. And you mentioned the smaller linebackers, guys like Miles Jack, who's kind of a smaller guy, Telvin Smith, who's, a good sized linebacker, but is still more of that speed finesse kind of a guy. I think they're going to attack with Rob Gronkowski today. I think, Jalen Ramsey wants to talk about he's never seen a corner like me. Nobody has ever seen a tight end like Rob Gronkowski, and they don't realize that until they play against Rob Gronkowski. So, I think that he'll be a big part of this game plan as well. That play action, I can see it in my head now. That play action pass, play action fake, Gronk up the seam, over the middle. I can see that as a bread and butter play for the Patriots in this game. I expect to see that run at least 3 or 4 times in this game.
So, and looking at the defense, you mentioned the matchup between Ramsey and Gronkowski, and you're right. I definitely think advantage Gronkowski in that. The one thing that has me on pause is the report that their plan in the red zone is to put Jalen Ramsey with or without help over the top on Rob Gronkowski. And you say, okay, corner on Rob Gronkowski, it's easy money every time. That guy scares me a little bit. I think that they need to be able to operate in the red zone today without Rob Gronkowski, at least to start. They need to have a plan that if Jalen Ramsey really can lock down Rob Gronkowski, if there's even a chance that happens, they need a plan B, and it needs to be better than Brandon Bolden. Brandon Bolden's fine against the Titans. That's all well and good. They need a better plan B in the red zone today than Brandon Bolden, and I'm still kind of scratching my head at who that's going to be. The inactives will be out here in a matter of minutes. It actually just came out, and the guy I was going to say is inactive, so I'm not even going to mention his name. You can figure it out. But they need that big target, whether it be Jacob Hollister, who actually had a really good game against the Jags, was in the preseason, but a really good game against the Jags, or whether it be Dwayne Allen, or whether they go small. Again, it's a game where you could really use Edelman, those pivot routes on the goal line. Maybe they go to Amendola for that. So the inactives today for the Patriots, Mike Gillislee, we knew. All right, scratch Jacob Hollister, too. He's inactive. So they'll go at this with just 2 tight ends, which is interesting. That's kind of a surprise. Alan Branch, Kenny Britt, Adrian Waddle. So Waddle not playing, so it will be Cameron Fleming starting at tackle. Bernard Reedy, and no David Harris either. So some surprise. Waddle, Branch, Hollister, some surprising names on there for sure.
Yeah, Branch is one that you kind of scratch your head at. I mean, it's been one of those things all year where he's he wasn't in great shape at the beginning of the year, and he was in the doghouse for a little while and all this stuff. And a game like today when you have a running back like Leonard Fournette on the other side, he's a guy who you really think would be able to step up and make some big plays in the running game. So unfortunate to see him out. Adrian Waddle had been playing well, so it's unfortunate to see him out as well. But for the most part, I think this is a pretty unsurprising inactive list. Jacob Hollister, Mike Gillislee, those guys. Trags actually told me on Friday that he thought that it would be shocking if Gillislee was active. So, it looks like Trags right again. But yeah, this is a pretty unsurprising inactives list, minus Alan Branch, which I think that's kind of an unfortunate loss for them today.
For the Jaguars, they will not have Chris Ivory. That's a big one. We saw it, even though they beat the Steelers, they could have used him last week. So if you can kind of get Fournette feeling it early, you can maybe slow him down. Eli Anoku, Devin King, Carol Phillips, Chris Reed, Josh Walker, William Prohl. So the big one being Chris Ivory. The Jaguars will go in with just 2 running backs. So we saw in the AFC Championship game last year, right? Le'Veon Bell went down. It kind of changed the tempo of the whole game. If something happens to Leonard Fournette, we know he's coming in on a bad ankle. That could, obviously, losing Fournette will change the tide of the game. I want to catch up to some of these questions on YouTube. And again, I just want to remind everybody, if you're watching on YouTube, click the link. We'll put it up here again in the YouTube chat. So that is over 2 hours left. You can check it. Click that link. You can come in, click Join Podium on the Shindig site, and we will take your questions. Somebody did just join in there. So if you want to jump up to the podium, ask us a question, chat with us about the game. But I want to catch up to some of these questions here as well, ignoring the ones about Brian Hoyer starting. First one, what roles Rex Burkhead
going to have? He's not playing today.
Who?
Hoyer. He's not playing today. Let's just get that settled right now.
In a perfect world, I wouldn't hate seeing him kneel the ball down at the end of the game.
Sure, okay. He's going to come in and take a knee.
He should take no meaning. You're right. I don't think he's taking any meaningful snaps today. Something has gone horribly wronger if Brian Hoyer plays today. Thank you for bringing some energy to that point. What role is Rex Burkhead going to have? Interesting question. I think he will step back into that role, the goal line back. But, I wouldn't be shocked if he has 5-6 catches today. Again, I think it's going to be a lot of getting the ball to running backs in space. You put James Devlin in the game. That allows you as the Patriots to keep the Jaguars in a base defense, and you can isolate these running backs on the Jaguars linebackers. So I think Rex Burkhead plays a decent role in the running game today. We're going to keep running through these questions here. Brian Hoyer question. Oh, my God. Bolden looked to be the better back. I'm assuming you're talking about Brandon Bolden. He should not see any handoffs today. He really shouldn't. I would really only give him the ball, or I really only want to see him on special teams. Got to throw. Jags have been giving up a ton of yards. Yes, but I think part of that, and we saw it with the Steelers early, whether it was running the ball or throwing the ball in the flat to the running backs, they drew that Steelers defense in and then piled up the yards in the second half. So that's kind of what I want to see the Patriots do, is draw the Jaguars in early with the run, bring those safes up, because, again, they're good, but they're inexperienced. If you can kind of taunt them and drag them up to the line and make them think they have a chance to make a play at the line, then you can go over the top. Barry Church, a little more experience, so maybe you don't fool him as much. But if you can get a single high safety look against this team, that's going to be money for the Patriots all day.
Also noticeable, just to jump in real quick, that Tashawn Gibson has been dealing with a foot injury all week long.
That's their other safety.
So, I mean, and he's active today. He's going to play, but foot injury is an issue, especially if you're going up against a guy like Gronk or something like that.
All right, we got next question. This is also about the secondary. Who will Danny Amendola draw, AJ Boye or their third corner? I would think Boye is going to get Hogan just because he's a better matchup for Hogan. I think maybe I almost said freshman. I've been doing too much college sports. The rookie, Jalen Myrick, seems to me the guy that would get Amendola. Maybe we see him pass off to a safety in Gibson if the Patriots can get the right look. That's a good question. And you know what? If he starts to succeed early, I think Boye will move over there. And then, look, you're going to get a favorable matchup between Amendola or Hogan, one of the two. And I think it's just about the Patriots looking at that pre-snap and figuring that out. Or maybe the reports are wrong that Jalen Ramsey's going to get Gronk, and maybe they go with the two corners on the two receivers. And in that case, Rob Gronkowski's going to have a huge day because, look, I like Miles Jack. I like Telvin Smith. They're good players. Those guys aren't stopping Rob Gronkowski. Together, I don't think those guys are stopping Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah, that's my whole thing right now is because we haven't even mentioned Brandon Cook's name. So if you're talking about these corners,
right, and there's Brandon Cooks too.
So someone is going to be open, because if you leave, your top three guys on Gronk, Hogan, and Cooks, then Amendola is open. Same thing if you leave, if you cover Amendola, then Cooks is open, then Hogan is open. I totally agree with you about Miles Jack and Telvin Smith. I think I said the exact same thing on Friday to Trags. I said, I like them. They're good players. They're quality guys. They're too small. They cannot cover Rob Gronkowski. There's absolutely no way. So just throwing this in, because I always forget with the inactives to talk about the notable actives. Rex Burkhead, we talked about. Johnson Batamosi will step in for Jonathan Jones, who's now on IR. Cole Croston, a rare active because of Ladrian Waddle being on the shelf. Got somebody else here joining on Shindig, and that's Mike Petraeus. So, Mike, if you want to jump up to the podium and join us, you are watching the CLNS Patriots pregame show. Alex Barth, Mike Alongi, and Trags will be joining us in a minute, taking up until about 2 o'clock, 2:05. Then we'll shift our coverage over to Twitter at Patriots CLNS. You can join us there, and then Trags as well during the game will be live tweeting. Well, Trags gets his way up to the podium here. Let's see if we can get one or two more questions in. See what we got here. Patriots should use Dwayne Allen a lot. More of a comment. Interesting thought. Maybe that's the red zone answer. Is Dwayne Allen, because, again, I don't love these. They have really good linebackers. Paul Posluszny, one of the stupidest things the Bills have done in the last 10 years, and it goes unnoticed, is letting Posluszny walk. A lot of good linebackers, none of them really coverage linebackers. So could be an interesting, perhaps, Dwayne Allen game. Burkhead should be the QB. Funny comment. Burkhead should be the QB spy, the way he proved himself this week. I'll forgive Rex Burkhead. I will. Okay, so we got an interesting comment here as Trag makes his way up. Kenny Britt should have been activated. I'm going to agree with that. That was my red zone guy, perhaps, in this game, was Kenny Britt. And I'm surprised he's not active this week. I don't know about you, Mike. I thought, given the attention is going to be paid to Rob Gronkowski, this could be the game where Kenny Britt steps up. Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. I was actually, when you were talking about that, you jumped right into questions, but I was going to say my red zone guy might be Danny Amendola, to be honest, which is kind of strange as it sounds. That, we saw last week he can run those kind of things where he's jumping in and doing this and doing that. He can run those little Edelman-type routes in those short yardage situations. I think he might be able to get it done.
How are you, bud?
I'm not going to. All right,
another championship game.
Yep, joining us now, there he is Mike Petralia, covers the Patriots for CLNS. He is on location at Gillette. Mike, how's the environment down there for the 7th straight AFC Championship game?
Pretty electric, guys. As you might imagine.
Oh, it's that Gillette Stadium Wi-Fi.
Yep. All right, so let's see if we can reboot Mike here for a second. So, well, he's working on that. One point I want to make, well, as we were talking about the wide receivers, and Mike, maybe you can get in contact with Trags and let him know to to restart. I'm going to drop them off the podium there. And if you guys want to join the podium too, if you want to come on and talk with us, click the Shindig link. I'll paste it right here in the YouTube chat. You can come on and join us, ask your questions. Really encourage it. Would love to chat with you guys. One thing I want to talk about
Well, we got Trags coming back right now.
We got Trags coming back. Okay, excellent. So let's see if this will if we can bring him back in here. Well, he joins us. I just want to say, so there's a lot of talk this week about Brandon Cooks maybe being a disappointment. And I know he didn't have a great game against the Titans, but I don't know how much more people want from him. I still think, and this is a hill I'm willing to die on, so I'll finish when Trags comes back. Outside now, looks like you're under the ramps. Trags, can you hear us?
I am. Can you guys hear me?
We got you now.
All right. Wi-Fi, Trags. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, you know what I'm doing? I'm trying to give some ambiance to this pregame show and give kind of a flavor of the electric atmosphere that's building here at Gillette Stadium. Guys, it's remarkable that Tom Brady is 5-1 in AFC.
Oh, there he goes again.
Games here.
All right, so it looks like we lost Trags again. Okay, so we'll try one more time. Maybe the third time's the charm. So the point I wanted to make on Brandon Cooks was this. I know people were kind of disappointed with his performance this year, but he was top 5 in league in receiving yards. And the guy you're getting, and I think this is what a lot of Patriots fans didn't understand because of the Randy Moss comparisons. You're not necessarily getting a guy who's going to go out and give you Julio Jones numbers every week. You're getting a guy who, when the game plan is right for him, is going to really, really test defenses. Last week was not a Brandon Cooks game plan. He is streaky. That is the downside to Brandon Cooks. That being said, this could be a game where he is on the up. It's a little warmer out. He's not really a guy who has experience playing in the cold. I think we have Trags back again. Here we do. Okay, third time's the charm here, Mike. So let me get.
Can you guys hear me now?
We got you now, and that's a great background you got on the stadium right there. And let me start with this. I want to get this in case we lose you again, because it's the question everybody wants to know. Sure. Did you see Tom Brady warm up? How does he look?
He has not been warming up. I would not expect him to be on the field until he actually takes the field for the first time with the starting unit and actually runs down the sideline as he normally does with Brian Hoyer. I wouldn't expect this game to be really any different in terms of Tom Brady's pregame routine. He's going to take the field as he normally does 45 minutes before the game, go through his pregame routine. So we're still about another half hour to 40 minutes away from that taking place. So if you're wondering if he's going to get on the field early and do some pregame, I have not spotted him doing that. And I wouldn't expect him to, because I think Tom Brady wants everything to be normal for this game as much as possible, given what he's been through this week.
And of course, there's some added focus on Brian Hoyer. Has he done anything out of the ordinary in his game? I don't know if you're normally watching his game prep. I don't know if you know what is ordinary, but have you noticed anything out of the ordinary with him?
No, and again, same with Brian Hoyer. I mean, I don't think we're going to see anything significant until Hoyer and Brady take the field together with about 45 minutes to go before kickoff, when they start going through their pregame reps. That's what the telltale sign will be. But guys, I do not expect this to be a major story once the game begins. I would expect Tom Brady to be pretty healthy. I am of the belief, the closer I get to kickoff, that a lot of this was smoke screen. That a lot of people, I think, inside the organization wanted the outside world talking about Tom Brady's right thumb and his right hand, leaving everything else pretty much untalked about, and not a lot of attention being paid to it. And I think that's the way it's played out, right, guys? I mean, this is not the first time the Patriots have taken this approach, taken this tack. When there's been one single big storyline, they are like, go, have at it. You want to talk about, whatever issue it might have been. Rob Gronkowski won 1 year going into a playoff game. Is he really ready to play? And that's all that was talked about. I think the same can be said for Tom Brady's right hand here. Let everybody talk about Tom Brady's right hand and let all the other details get unnoticed.
And when we were talking about here before you, Mike, go ahead.
Just asking, Rex Burkhead active today, Mike Gillislee inactive. What do you think effect that has on the running game today? And do you think that Dion Lewis and James White are going to see the bulk of the carries, or how do you think it's going to go?
I don't think Rex Burkhead would be active if he wasn't going to see a decent number of carries himself. I know they would like to get Burkhead's speed in the passing game as well as the running game. The reason you would activate Rex Burkhead is he is not only a very good runner, I think underrated runner coming into this season. Catching the ball to him, or you don't going to be running the ball with him.
So,
and the Jacksonville Jaguars in the field, I mean, that's why you see.
All right, Trags, you're kind of in and out there, so we'll let you go. But thanks for checking in from Gillette. Everybody can follow him on Twitter at Trags. He'll have coverage throughout the game, and you can find him. We'll be retweeting him at Patriots CLNS. Mike, enjoy. I don't know if he can even hear that. All right, there he goes. So, third time was the charm. We got some good stuff out of Trags there. Again, this is the Patriots CLNS pregame show. If you guys have any questions, you want to jump up on the podium with us, please feel free. Step into the Shindig link. We have the link up on the YouTube in the chat. It's that gateway.shindig.com link, so you can go to there. Trags just come back. Oh, it came back. All right. So I guess, Trags, if you have anything else for us, because the connection's getting a little spotty again.
Well, I don't know if you heard my point about Rex Burkhead, but the reason you want Rex Burkhead active is because it really keeps the defense guessing, because Rex Burkhead, I think, is equally dangerous in the passing game as he is the running game. And there will be, I'm sure, sets in this game where you have James White and Rex Burkhead on the field at the same time. You have Dion Lewis and James White on the field at the same time. I think that's one of the reasons you have Kenny Britt inactive. I know you think that, you know, he could be a very dangerous red zone option, but I think the Patriots very much feel that their running backs could have the biggest impact in this game. That, and of course, Rob Gronkowski.
He is Mike Petraglia. Follow him on Twitter at Trags. He'll have updates live from Gillette throughout the game. Mike, thanks for checking in with us.
You got it, guys. Thanks for putting up with my technology here at Gillette Stadium.
Third time's the charm.
You bet.
All right, so again, if you guys want to join the podium, if you got, oh, he's come back again. Is he?
Nope, he's not.
Nope. Okay, there we go. So if you guys want to join us, feel free to jump in. Going through some more of the questions here, because we got to just about everything, but there were some in here we didn't get to I wanted to talk about. There was one, where did it go? Oh, about turnovers. Okay, turnovers. And this is kind of the note I want to close on. This is a good note to close on. So if you guys do have any questions, you know, please feel free to jump in. But as we close this out here, the Jaguars are 10-0 in games where Blake Bortles does not throw an interception, including the playoffs 2 and 7 in games where he does not. So, did I say that right? They're undefeated when he doesn't throw a pick. They're 2 and 7 when he does. So,
yes.
If you're the Patriots, turnovers on both sides of the ball are huge. You need to force Bortles to make a mistake. Look, the defense looked as good last week against the Titans, as good as they've looked in a long time. I think maybe going back to the Atlanta game, they looked really good in that game, but definitely a top 3 performance for the defense against the Titans last week. That being said, they didn't force a turnover. And it is in one way impressive to have that effort and keep the yards totals and the point totals down like they did without forcing a turnover. But you need to do it this week because the Titans are much more of the Jaguars are much more of a ball control team. Okay, they are going to want to keep the ball in Fournette's hands and specifically game plan around limiting those turnovers. On the other side of the football, the Jaguars offense, well, their ball control, they struggle with distance. You can't give them any short fields. You cannot give them any short fields. If you give the Jaguars the slightest bit of hope early in this game, right, like we saw against the Texans last year, I know that game ended up being a blowout, but this Jaguars team is a lot better than the Houston team last year in the divisional round when Brady threw that early pick. If you're the Patriots, you cannot give the Jaguars any hope early on. Safe passing game, again, go to the run. If the Patriots turn the ball over in the first half at all, they're in huge trouble. I'll say that right now. You can hold me to that. If they turn the ball over in the first half, they're in huge trouble. If they turn the ball over at all, they're going to have issues. So turnovers are going to be, and it's always important in football games, especially late in the season. I hate to go to cliches, but especially in this game, Turnovers are going to tell the tale. I will put my money where my mouth is. You can hold it over my head the rest of the time. The team that wins the turnover battle is going to win this football game. If there's no turnovers, though, that benefits the Patriots. If that number is tied, I think that benefits the Patriots.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think that's a really good point. I mean, turnovers are, the Patriots is such a good ball control team, and that they don't give up turnovers very often. And with that thumb, we don't know if Brady's, if his passes are a little bit behind or a little bit ahead. This is the kind of a defense that can turn those plays into turnovers. So that's something you do want to look out for. A couple of questions that I noticed that I thought were kind of interesting here. Who's gonna spy Blake Bortles? Because we haven't really talked about the fact that Bortles, I mean, obviously last week he had a pretty decent game running the ball. The week before that in the wild card playoffs, I mean, he ran for more yards than he threw for. So the Patriots have had issues in the past with those mobile quarterbacks, and guys like Kyle Van Noy, Marquise Flowers, I think will play a pretty pivotal role in that, in spying. I don't know if you're going to have a legit, hard spy on Blake Bortles, but I think if there's going to be a guy, one of those guys, Marquise Flowers, Kyle Van Noy, one of those guys is going to have at least one eye. Maybe it's Patrick Chung, who knows, but they're going to have at least one eye on Blake Bortles at all times. And real quick, just another question I noticed, Gostowski. I don't know what the wind is like today, but obviously we mentioned it's pretty warm down there. It's about 50 degrees. He could prove to be a pretty important player in this game, and we know he kicks well at Gillette Stadium. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm not sure. I don't think it's pretty windy out there today or not, but it'll be interesting to see how Gostowski.
I'm looking right now. It doesn't look too windy. I'm actually right down the street. Doesn't look too windy.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where he might end up having to come up big with a really big kick at the end of this game, and as we've seen in the past, that is shaky territory to say the least.
Yeah, field goals are going to be big in this game, field position wise, and that kind of leads me to another point I want to touch on here with Blake Bortles. The thing I've noticed about Bortles now that I've watched, I really hadn't watched any full Jaguars games until their last two, the playoff games. Blake Bortles actually has a decent deep ball. It's not bad. When he's throwing for distance, he's pretty accurate. It's the short stuff that's going to screw with him. So if I'm the Patriots, my game plan is go into a cover 3, take away everything over the top, put 6 in the box, because the Jaguars generally use a fullback, Tommy Bohannon, and just use 3 corners on the outside, and just hope you can take away the slants, take away the in cuts, the out cuts, and force Blake Bortles to make the throws over the middle short that he generally can't make. And don't forget about the fullback. We saw Tommy Bohannon get wide open in the red zone, and I think if you do what you did kind of last week against the Titans, they had that game plan, right? It worked once for the Titans, and then they couldn't go back to it. If you want to have a 15-play drive where you pass the ball 10 times and make your way down the field, we will give that to you. We will give that to you. A 15, 16-play, 60-yard drive, go for it. But we're not going to let you beat us on the ground, and we're not going to let you beat us over the top. And I think that needs to be the game plan for the Patriots again today defensively.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that's another reason why Patrick Chung and guys like Devin McCourty will be really big in this game, because they do patrol, especially Chung. He patrols the middle of the field so well and can cover tight ends like a guy like Mercedes Lewis, who you never know. I mean, he's past his prime, but he could always have a big game. You never know. Guys like that, a guy like Patrick Chung is huge in that. And as we said, not letting them run the ball. Patrick Chung is a good tackler. Devin McCourty is a good tackler. Right. These guys are going to have to make tackles on guys like not Chris Ivory, T.J. Yeldon and Leonard Fournette.
And what the Patriots are going to have to do is gang tackling on Fournette. They've been good with that all year, but we saw how well their corners were tackling last week, but it's going to be a little different. And remember, the Jaguars are only going into this with 2 running backs. You mentioned Chris Ivory. He's inactive. So just going on their roster, the listed running backs, Fournette, T.J. Yeldon, who is in similar, does have a similar style to Kenyon Drake of the Dolphins, another Alabama product who kind of gave them trouble earlier this year. So look for them to maybe adjust when Yeldon's in the game. And I think Van Noy gets him in coverage when he's in the game. But Leonard Fournette, T.J. Yeldon, Chris Ivory's inactive. Corey Grant, who's really just a kick returner. He doesn't see a lot of work on the offensive side of the ball. Tommy Bohannon, the fullback. So those are all their listed backs. they're not that deep at wide receiver either. Keelan Cole's a rookie, Allen Hurns, Marquise Lee, D.D. Westbrook, another rookie, and Jaden Mickens, who has come up big the last couple of weeks, but is primarily a punt returner. So if you can get physical, if you're the Patriots, and kind of wear the Jaguars out a little bit, depth-wise, and I can't believe I'm saying this after the season we've had, I think depth-wise, the Patriots have the advantage in this game.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I think, especially offensively. I mean, defensively is a whole other story. But on the offensive side of I mean, I think you're totally right. I mean, these guys on Jacksonville, they've made, if you play fantasy football, you know about guys like D.D. Westbrook, you know about guys like Marquise Lee, guys like that. They'll make plays, they'll do some things here and there, but they're not, at this point in their career, at least, they're very young players, but they're not consistently, quality wide receivers at this point in their career yet. So, yeah, I mean, you have two really, really good cornerbacks on your team in Malcolm Butler and Stephon Gilmore. Those guys should be more than enough and Eric Rowe, if you want to count in Eric Rowe as the slot guy and things like that. These guys should be more than good enough to handle those wide receivers. It's the other players. It's the guys, like I said, like, again, not to beat a dead horse, but Patrick Chung, Devin McCourty, guys like that who are going to need to cover TJ Yeldon. They're going to need to cover Tommy Bohannon. They're going to need to cover Mercedes Lewis. Because let's be honest, every coach who plays against Bill Belichick, we haven't mentioned this yet, every coach who plays against Bill Belichick tries to get too smart for his skin. And everyone tries to play little trick plays and little different this and little different that and give you this look and then throw it to the fullback. Coaches always try that kind of stuff, and I would expect nothing less of Doug Marrone today. So those guys who are going to have to be covering those players, they're going to have to be on their toes.
Well, it was funny. I was kind of thinking the exact opposite. If we remember what we remember from Doug Marrone's time in Buffalo is that he's overly conservative. Right? He likes to go out of the eye formation. They went split backs his last year in Buffalo. Split backs. I haven't seen that formation since 2002. And they went split backs. So I think if you're the Patriots, you got to get ready for kind of an old school game plan. But you know what? You're right. I wouldn't be shocked if Leonard Fournette threw the ball today. I think the Jaguars will try to do something stupid because that's generally what happens. All right. We're getting ready to wrap things up. If you guys have any last questions now, get those in on YouTube here. I just want to remind everybody that this is just the beginning of our Patriots coverage throughout the day. We'll be back at halftime on the CLNS Media Facebook page. You can join us on Twitter at PatriotsCLNS. We'll have live coverage of the game on there. And then post-game, Mike and Marv will have you on the CLNS YouTube page. And on clnsmedia.com, you can get Trag's recap. You joined us earlier. And then depending on how things go, there may or may not be another additional podcast dropped later tonight. So make sure you're following at CLNS Media for all of that. Put those push notifications on at PatriotsCLNS so you get all of our coverage. Mike, score prediction.
Well, I believe I said on Friday, our Patriots Roundtable, that it was going to be 30-20 or 30-21. I actually can't remember what my prediction was, but it's around there. I think the Patriots cover. I think they win by 10 points.
I'm kind of in a similar vein. I'm going to go 28-21 Patriots. I think it's a lot closer than people think. I think the fact that it is the logo is the Jaguars on that awful two-toned helmet, and this franchise has been such a punchline for so long, has people letting their guard down maybe more than they should. But at the end of the day, the Patriots are still a better team. I think they come away, but it's going to be close. It's going to be. I think this game is tougher than if they win either of their opponents would be in the Super Bowl. I think this is the toughest of the three remaining teams up against the Patriots. So 28-21 if the Patriots get there. If we'll leave it at if. So that will do it for us. We'll be back at halftime. If this indeed was the last pregame show of the year, I want to thank everybody for joining us all year. I know it's kind of we've come a long way from where we started with just the YouTube live and the single camera in my dark basement, and big things coming next year as well. Hopefully we get to talk to you again, though, and that would be Super Bowl week. And of course, follow us on social media at PatriotsCLNS, at CLNS Media to keep up with all of that. Follow me on Twitter at RealAlexBarth. I always forget, Mike, CLNS Alongi or Alongi CLNS?
CLNS Alongi.
So that's where you can follow Mike. Enjoy the game, everybody. I will talk to you at halftime. Go Pats.